Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast Battle Report. Today the Dark Eldar face off against the Imperium in the defense of the silos and power plant. Let's begin. Today we have the Imperial Guard forces facing off against the Dark Eldar in a tactical escalation mission. 2,400 points of pure Imperial steel against the Dark Eldar. Two full platoons. We'll go over deployment in a second. The Imperial Guard deploy first and will then choose to go first or second. The Dark Eldar, 2,400 points. 3 Venoms with Cavalry Warriors, Ravagers, some Witches, Hellions, a unit of Incubi, the Warlord, Archon, Talos, an allied detachment of Forge-Willed Corsairs, the Razorwing, and of course a Grotesquerie, and last but not least, the dangerous Mandrakes. Let's get on to setup. Deployment, Vanguard Strike. The objectives: to save the power plant from the Dark Eldar, the silos, and the outpost. So there's 6 objectives in this Maelstrom of War mission. Number 4, number 2, number 5 by the pipeline, number 1, number 6 behind these crates, and number 3. The Imperial Guard deployed first. In reserve they have a Vendetta with a platoon command squad with Flamers. We have a Melter Hellhammer or Banewolf or whatever it's called. Then we have 2 big platoons of 30 with a Priest and a Commissar in each. Unit of Veterans with Flamers. Unit of Veterans with Melter Guns. An Executioner Plasma Cannon Lehman Russ. A Veterans with Melters. Oh, sorry, Flamers are another company command squad. Platoon command squad. Then we have the company commander back here, a Primaris Psyker. 2 priests in each blob. 1 priest in each blob. The Basilisk and the Manticore. In the Dark Eldar army, infiltrating Mandrakes, because by popular demand they're back. Unit of Talos. The Grotesquerie, led by Urien Rakarth himself. They rolled Rage this game. This one has the Archon in it. Urien Rakarth is riding with the Incubi, and this is a 3-man Grotesque unit with nothing else in it. 2 Ravagers in the backfield, and 2 Venoms with 5 Cavalry Warriors. Let the battle commence. In reserve we have deep striking Hellions that got +1 toughness with the Corsair Prince, as well as 10 Eldar Corsairs that are coming in regular reserve, and unit of Witches with a Raider and the Razorwing Jet Fighter. Now the Dark Eldar do want to try and seize the initiative, but Ricky, have a great game, sir. Let's get this party started. And it doesn't. Imperial Guard, turn 1. The Imperial Guard advance at full force, bringing their weapons to bear against the Dark Eldar Raiders. High Command asked them to control Objective 1, and so the Hellhound variant has boosted up to capture a point. The rest of the turn saw a lot of shooting into the Dark Eldar forces, seeing the Raider with the Archon's Grotesques go down, and one of the Ravagers in the backfield die to Manticore fire, while the other Raider with Grotesque was immobilized, forcing the Grotesque to disembark. The Dark Eldar High Command has asked the Dark Eldar to reconnaissance and find out what every objective on the table is, while the Flamers got out, murdered the Mandrakes. Sorry, we won't see them participating this game. Moving on to Dark Eldar turn 1. A little bit of shuffling from the Dark Eldar forces allows all the objectives to be identified, bringing the recon point into play. The Grotesque jumped out, charged into the Devil Dog, that's what it's called, and destroyed it in combat, while Urien Rakarth and the Incubi boosted up to the flank, and the Taloses, although they had to move back, fired and killed all but one of the Flamers that is okay, ready to run away back into the Chimera. Flurries of bad, difficult train rolls saw the Archon's Grotesque unit move 3 inches. And now we're moving on to Imperial Guard turn 2. Will the Vendetta with Flamers show up? It does. Lots of shooting, saw one grotesque down to 1 wound, and a manticore take out a grotesque out in the open. The Vendetta zoomed on the board, knocked out the Ravager with 3 penetrating hits, failing all 3 of the Jink saves. It blew sky high. Basilisk forced this venom into jinking, but it's fine. And shooting saw the Incubi and Clavex die, and Urian Rakarth alive with 1 wound remaining. So we're moving on to the start of the Dark Eldar second turn. And we start with reserves. Oh, and in objectives-based, Imperial Guard, capture objective 1 for 1 point. And they needed to try and capture objective 3. Do you want to discard it? He's going to keep it because he wants to come get it with the Vendetta guys later in the game. And on my turn, I have the Razorwing Jet Fighter trying to come on the board. It does. I have the Witches with the Raider. They do not come on the board. I have the Deep Striking Helion Blob arrives, and I have the Corsairs, and they do not arrive. The Helions with the Corsair Prince gloriously arrived from reserve, and a sonic lance torpedo from the orbiting spacecraft blew up both the Manticore and the Basilisk in the backfield with a direct hit, which was amazing in a glorious intervention. The Grotesques ran in, took 2 more wounds, they each have 1 wound left, and wiped out all that veteran squad, while the Razorwing and this Venom forced the Vendetta into jinking. Urian Rakarth has decided to hide back here, and does he regain a wound thanks to... Nope, he does not regain a wound, while the Talos fail their charge against this Chimera here. So we're moving on to Imperial Guard turn 3, and I have reconned, having Urian, the Talos, the Grotesques, and the Corsair Prince within 12 inches of my table edge. And I have Psychological Warfare. I forced one of his units to fail a morale test. They ran away, they fled, giving me another point. Moving on. The Vendetta go into hover mode. Flamers got out, killed the entire unit of Cabalite Warriors. Vendetta blew a splinter cannon off that Venom. Other shooting saw nothing happen to the Archon, as all saves were made by the Grotesques. A successful order and prescience on this blob killed both of the Grotesques that were left in that unit. The veterans with melter guns got out, trying to wipe out the Talos with melter guns and the Plasmacutioner. 1 Talos survived with full wounds, and the Plasmacutioner has taken a overheating hull point. While in a blaze of glory, this multi-laser fired and took Urian Rakarth's last wound off him.
Thank God for Windows.
Thanks to the Windows. So, Imperial Guard has captured Objective 5, which is back here twice, gaining them another 2 points. And now we're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 3. And we have reserves to roll. I forgot to roll for my 3rd unit of Cabalites with Venoms. So, we have Cabalite unit with Venom arrives. We have the Corsairs do not arrive, and we have the Witches. They do not arrive either. They'll be coming in next turn. The Helions moved up, blasted the unit of Imperial Guardsmen that were there. The Venom boosted up to capture an objective. I was hoping for a supremacy, but I forgot about this objective in the movement phase, which means I did not get it, even though I have units on different objectives. The Talos charged into the veterans and blew them sky high, eating them all in combat, gaining me Take Them Alive. And this Venom that came in from reserve captured Objective 4, giving me Capture Objective 4. In the meantime, the 1 Raider that's still immobilized took another hull point off the Executioner. I killed a few Guardsmen from the large blob. We're moving on to Imperial Guard turn 4. The battle is progressing rapidly. The Imperial Guard advanced, tried to take out the Talos with some ignore covering las cannons, only succeeding in putting 1 wound on the Beast of Pain. The Chimeras and the Lone Flamer came out, killed the Venom, with help from the autocannons that were ignoring cover thanks to an order, and 1 Cabalite warrior is left alive, allowing the Flamer to take objective number 4. With sporadic firepower, 1 Grotesque took a wound, looking out, sir, for the Archon, while the Hellions took a pounding from the Executioner, but their toughness 4, due to combat drugs, really helping them survive. Meanwhile, the last Venom went down to the Vendetta, firing it into it, but not killing any of the occupants inside. So moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 4, the reserves, the Witches, and the Corsairs arrive to the battle. The Hellions ran in and destroyed the Vendetta in close combat because it was in hover mode. The Razorwing moved up, fired 2 missiles and lances, succeeding in immobilizing this Chimera, putting 1 hull point on the other, and making it snap shoot this turn. The Witches arrived on this flank, put 1 penetrating hit on the company commander's Chimera, but he passed his cover save, while the Talos gallantly charged into a beefed up blob and took 2 wounds in the process, but it is holding up the blob for a turn, and the Archon continues to be bogged down in terrain, unable to make any combats. The 2 missile launchers is aided in killing the Vendetta, and the Corsair Prince is moving up the field. So, after that, we're moving on to Imperial Guard turn 5, and the Dark Eldar did not get any points this turn. Will it turn around for them? They finally killed the Talos in close combat. The 1 Chimera boosted forth to capture objective 4. Lots of shooting, immobilized the Witch Raider in the backfield. In other shooting, 2 of the Grotesques from the Archon's unit fell down, and the Imperial Guard have captured 4 objective points this round. Plus, the Plasmacutioner killed itself by overheating while shooting at the Archon's unit. And we're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 5, could be the end of the game. I had to capture objective 6, the Hellions captured objective 6, and I had to do casualties from 3 different units. So I did casualties from that big blob, casualties from this big blob, and killed this Chimera. And I did not gain overwhelming firepower because I did not kill something in the shooting phase. I'm getting rid of capture objective 5 in the back, and I'm keeping Fear and Terror and overwhelming firepower to see if it goes on to turn 6. In combat, the Grotesque did 1 hull point against the immobilized Chimera. The Witches wrecked the Chimera next to objective number 4. The Archon valiantly charged in by himself against an entire blob of guardsmen, getting surrounded, and minimal shooting elsewhere, while 1 of the Corsairs jumped up, shot into that Chimera in the back, and did nothing, jumped down. But I lost 1 of the missile launchers to dangerous terrain. In the meantime, the Corsair Prince is valiantly going to get Linebreaker at the end of the game. We're currently sitting at about 14 points to set to 8. 14 points to 8 thanks to Linebreaker if the game does not continue. So, Ricky will roll. And the game goes on to turn 6. The Archon survived another combat while the unit of guardsmen moved back, capturing objective 2 twice, and then rapid firing first rank, second rank fire, killing the Corsair Prince. Meaning that there's 2 more points added to the pool for a grand total of 16 points to the Imperial Guard army. Let's see if the Dark Eldar can pull something out at the end of the game. Razorwing, rocket launcher, and lance from this raider tried to kill the Chimera, past all of its saves, or I missed. The Hellions were 1 inch away from completing a 10-inch charge against the large blob unit, but it was prescient, so they got some wounds in, and they failed with their fleet reroll, so they are just short. In combat, the Grotesque came in to help the Archon, who challenged out the Commissar Lord, and the Witches failed to run in, meaning they may only come into play if the game goes on to turn 7. And we shall roll. The Dark Eldar gain secure objective 4, so 1 more point towards the game. And the game continues to a final and epic turn 7. Combat, nothing happened. Shooting, saw 1 witch die to shooting. 3 Hellions died to Prescienced Super Blob of Doom thanks to their toughness 4. And now we're moving on, and there were no points for the Imperial Guard. So their total at the moment stands to 16 points to 8 points. So if the Dark Eldar can do 6 points, they tie the game. Best of luck, Dark Kin. And as the dust settles over the battlefield, the Dark Eldar were unable to kill the unit and the Chimera, leaving it with 1 hull point remaining and not doing enough damage in combat. The Commissar Lord with 1 wound left, and the Priest passing all his Lookout Sir rolls. Which means that the Dark Eldar have succeeded in getting 2 more points, plus Linebreaker, makes this a Dark Eldar loss of 16 to 11 points. It seems like they will go back to the Dark City with less slaves than what they thought they would. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, this is Skari, your grateful host. We're on a quest to hit 8,000 subscribers on the channel, so make sure you click this little link back here. It says subscribe on it. We really appreciate comments, your feedback, your likes, your shares. Make sure you stay tuned for the Tactical Corner. It's a segment I talk about after the game where I talk about the tactics involved in the game. A lot of fun. Thanks a lot, Ricky, for coming down for a game. And thanks a lot for tuning in. See you next time. And as always, this is Skari, your grateful host. Out. Hello and welcome to another Tactical Corner. So, I have not played Imperial Guard in a very long time. So we played a very large game and decided to make it very thematic. So the board was set up in a very storytelling way with the silos, the power generator. The army itself, the Imperial Guard army, wasn't optimized to 7th edition. Now, I'm going to be doing a special series on the Astra Militarum Imperial Guard for the channel. So make sure you stay tuned. There's a link down below in the description on a description of the army that Ricky lent me, which has lots of chimeras, lots of Imperial Guardsmen, tanks, the Vendetta, so I'm really looking forward to exploring that list. Now, this game was a tactical escalation. So you start with 1 card and move your way up to 1 card per the turn number. So at the end of the game, we're having 7 cards. This mission style really helps an army like the Astra Militarum, simply because as the game continues, the missions become more numerous, and an army like the Imperial Guard that's very good at a meat grinder can really capitalize on late game pushes with lots more models and the ability to put pressure on the opponent. In high contrast, the Dark Eldar are very, very good at the other Maelstrom mission, where you start with 6 cards, 6 objectives, and then work your way down, because they have the speed to do all the high point objectives and the further away objectives early in the game, and then don't have to worry so much later in the game as it goes. So this is the experience I've had with this mission particularly. Tactically, not seizing the initiative hurt me, and it not being night fight hurt me, but the Imperial Guard can ignore cover with their orders, so it wasn't really going to be that big of a deal. It wasn't luck or it wasn't dice. The maneuvering, the target priority, forgetting key objectives at some point in the game really made for a very interesting match. I was really happy about my Archon not failing any Shadowfield saves this game. And with the grotesques, sadly, we did not see the Incubi perform, we did not see the Mandrakes do anything, and we did not see Urien Rakarth. So that will require more playtesting to see them in action in the future. Razorwing, as good as always, that's why I usually take a few of them. And surprisingly enough,
The Hellions were quite nasty this game, as well as the Corsair Prince that really assisted the Dark Eldar dynamic with his orbital bombardment. Well, thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned for more content, and I appreciate it. This is Skari, out.